Got another replay here from NC's Gala versus Oniros. Demons of Chaos versus Dark Elves. Though honestly, this Demons of Chaos build is mostly just Tzeentch with a different lord. Chaos Furies of Slaanesh. Just as I say it's Tzeentch, then I have a bunch of Chaos Furies of Slaanesh. I thought they were the Tzeentch ones in the load-in. Anyway, Chaos Furies, Screamers, ROR, Shrieking Skyrays. We have the Sour Guts, the Chromatic Abominations, ROR Blue and Pink Horrors. Then Blue Horror Frontline backed up by Triple Flamer. And this game's about to pop off, so I actually do need to slow it down. And then an Exalted Keeper of Secrets of Shadows with just a Melkot's Mystifying Miasma, plus, of course, their AoE Rampage ability and Self-Heal, but for spells, just Melkot's. And aside for the Dark Elves, pretty standard stuff of Cold One Knights, backed up by Dread Spears, though we do have some Blackheart Corsairs, which are not exactly, like, crazy to take, but they're definitely not bog standard, so cool to see them. Triple Dark Shards with shields to outduel those horrors. And then we have the Supreme Sorcerers of Death with Fate of Buna and Spirit Leech. And the Ravagers of Rakarth, Scourge-on Chariot ROR with poison shots. Alright. Supreme Sorceress of Death is on a Manticore, which is not something you see often. You either see her on her Pegasus for speed and maneuverability, or on her Dragon for breath attacks and, you know, melee prowess. You don't often see her on the middle ground Manticore. Kind of okay at dueling. Not as expensive as a dragon, you know, just kind of mid-ground. So the Furies are going to wonder how to get onto the back line, or what they're going to do about that. Dark Shard's honestly just suffering from an abundance of targets. Like, they want to shoot the Flamers, they want to shoot the Horrors, they want to shoot the flying units. Shrieking Skyrays get their little ability off onto these guys. And the Flamers are firing in, getting some decent damage down on the Dread Spears. Flamers tend to fire a little too high, so a lot of their burst doesn't actually go into the target, but nice and close range, they can get some decent damage down. As I say that, that volley just didn't do literally anything. The Cold Knights are going to be uncontested. That's a big problem with this Demons of Chaos build so far, is no Seekers, nothing like that, so the Cold Knights can just charge in and do whatever they want. I think we have a Rampage coming for them soon, but for now they are diving onto the Flamers of Tzeentch, who are incredibly squishy and demonic, so if you really get them in melee for any prolonged amount of time, they are just going to evaporate away. Frontlines have collided. Blackheart Corsairs should be eating good tonight, but we can see the Dread Spears are already getting pushed off from the initial early volleys that just did so much damage. Flamers did some decent anti-air shots versus the Supreme Sorcerers, who has now landed amongst them, and the Tzeentchian Demons are forced to fight side by side in melee, which is definitely not what they prefer to do. But the Cold Knights that were used to dive the backline are no longer around to protect the Dark Shards. We did have some Furies briefly thinking about diving back there, instead just going for a rear charge on the front line, trying to get rid of the leadership of the Dark Elves and push them away, which honestly it's very capable of doing until Murderous Prowess procs. Murderous Prowess would make them significantly more courageous, but it has not popped yet, and if it does proc while they're routing, then, you know, obviously it doesn't help them. Furies chasing down Cold Knights, the Exalted Keeper of Secrets managed to rout, and this could be a disaster. Supreme Sorceress of Death is caught on the ground in front of the Exalted Keeper. The Exalted Keeper is squishy. There's a lot of things to complain about with it, but murdering enemy mages in melee is definitely something it can do. Unless those Dark Shards turn inwards and just pincushion the crap out of her. Tier 2 army ability, Fecundity for the Demons of Chaos, going down to the Exalted Keeper of Secrets, healing her up in an important time, also helping out some Blue Horrors with some staying power. Ravagers of Rakarth skirting away as the Chaos Furies have come to stop them. Previously they were just stopping up the Sour Guts or the Blue Horrors. Now the crossbows have turned inwards on the Keeper of Secrets. 15 armor and a bronze shield is not going to save her. So if the Supreme Sorceress of Death can get into the sky and get to safety, this honestly still could be a good engagement for the Dark Elves. Bounce power is shifting away from the Demons of Chaos, though opposite to the Skaven, where I'm like, oh, bounce power is so good in the early, and then the Skaven route everywhere. Actually, I guess it's not opposite, it's tangential. Demons of Chaos can also suffer from that, because when demonic instability hits, so many of the units just get taken out, and all of a sudden the balance of power can swing wildly against them. So don't take an early lead to be everything, as we are about to lose another Flamer. They were 2/3 HP, and then in one sentence they died. And just as I say that demonic instability thing, we lost 3 demonic units in the blink of an eye, and the balance of power is right back to about even. The Dark Elf caster is safe in the sky, nice and happy. Not a lot of flying or ranged units nearby that could threaten her, and she is sitting over the Dark Shard, so any Furies that charge her are going to take a bunch of damage. And meanwhile, slowly but surely, that Exalted Keeper of Secrets is getting poked down. Ravagers of Rakarth used the last of their ammunition. We still have 3 relatively active Dark Shards. Yeah, lots of models, so lots of damage left for them. It's getting really scary here for the Demons of Chaos. They just can't break through these last few Dark Elf infantry units that are just hanging on, using their courage to great effect as the Dark Shards get a lot of damage out. Now, we do have a very high ammunition Flamer trying to rejoin the fight, 10 out of 12 models, so most of its damage capacity available, but it's low on HP, and as we see the Raptors Recruits just plow into it as soon as it joins the fight. Most of its shots miss the Dark Shards, and it's probably going to die, just like the Exalted Keeper of Secrets did. But what is this? Tier 3 army ability of Tzeentch going down on 2 wounded Dark Shards. One of the Dark Shards taken out before the Tier 3 ability even lands, but there we go. It should be able to get rid of those other Dark Shards. Should. Shrieking Skyrays trying to finish off the Ravagers of Karth, and this is risky. Supreme Sources of Death taking a fight with the Shrieking Skyrays. Ooh, right over a Flamer. Barely dodges a lot of their damage. Spirit Leech down onto them, getting them nice and low while they're already in melee and under Dark Shard fire. That should be enough to get rid of their leadership. That should be enough to finish off this unit. And the Tier 3 army ability of Tzeentch didn't even get rid of the Dark Shards. What the hell? Ooh, that is tough. Dark Shards barely clinging to life. Most of this Dark Elf roster is barely clinging to life. It's the Screamers of Tzeentch, the Shrieking Skyrays. If they manage to kill the Supreme Sorcerers of Death, this game could actually turn on a dime because so many of the Dark Elves are so low on HP, but an overextension for the Lord could be critical. If she dies, so many units go. Look for the white flags as she is routing. A mass Dark Elf rout starts. Scourge-Drone Chariots plow back in to try and stop the Shrieking Skyrays from getting rid of the Sorcerers of Death, and it looks to be working. 200 HP on her. She gets back in the sky. She will be safe and sound. The whole game is down to the Sour Guts, the pink horror regiment of renown that explodes upon death. Anybody that fights them in melee will be taking some serious damage. Ooh, and there is a Chaos Fury that is alive in the background. Now that that's happened, I'm going to actually take a look around. Oh, there's another full health Chaos Fury that's been playing around with a wounded cold one night. Okay. All right, I think the bounce power is being a little too mean to the Demons of Chaos now, honestly. With the Lord having no chance of coming back now that Furies are on top of her, and such a healthy Fury over here that could charge and kill the Dark Shards. Because a lot of your bounce power for the Dark Elves is in this Dark Shard, which you don't have much to peel for it, so the Furies could just dive it and take out a lot of your bounce power. I guess by the same token, there is still a relatively healthy Cold One Knight coming back to the fight. Working on it. Sour Guts, Demonic Instability, couple little explosions from them, little bit of extra damage on the Dread Spears, but it is not enough. Ooh, that is a problem. All that is left are flying units for the Demons of Chaos, but they did kill the Dark Elf Lord, which is a bigger leadership debuff than her getting off the map. And they end up diving in the Cold One Knight. So yeah, they're gonna have to find things to engage with on the ground to keep that only flying units leadership debuff from hurting them. And the Dark Shards, the Dark Elves need to just hold on if possible. The Demons have literally nothing left to capture the point. Neither of these flying units have any capture weight at all. The Cold One Knight's making an interesting choice to just ignore the Chaos Furies. They're never gonna outrun them, so I kind of wish they had just turned around and fought, at least gotten a little bit of damage out. But it could be a stall tactic. They do take a lot less damage when they're moving away from their target. Dark Elves trying to stay together, trying to get their leadership up as much as they can, restore some vigor, because without their Lord, they take some pretty significant debuffs. Damage sustained and Lord dead for this random Dread Spear is minus 42 leadership, which is brutal. One of the Chaos Furies is trying to get around the formation, not just go directly into Dark Shards, while the other one chases down the Cold Knight. I will fast forward briefly as we do a little bit of Benny Hill music. And there we go. So trying to set up a sandwich. Leadership is both sides' weakness at this point. The Demons running out of time to attack. They also don't have a Lord, and their leadership is also crazy low, but that shock damage on the Dark Elves could get a mass rout going. Nasty Dark Shard Volley. I would not be shocked if Demonic Instability starts. There it is. He has to get into range for charging, so we get the charging leadership buff. He's trying. He's not going to do it. And he takes a -9 leadership penalty from not having any forces on the ground. But here comes the healthier Chaos Fury of Slanesh. Crazy low leadership. In fact, they start to crumble? No. They rally just at the last second, and nearby allies routing is a leadership buff for your side. Balance of power is crazy far against the Demons of Chaos, as the Cold Knights they were chasing down earlier are going to come over and rear charge them, but there's nothing the Chaos Furies of Slanesh could do about it. They had to land. They had to do something, or leadership would have faltered. They're trying to get back into the sky now, which is incredibly risky, and there they go, diving back onto the Cold Knights, still not technically leaving the ground, so technically their leadership is intact, but army losses takes them out in a very close game. Oh. Regala, his Lord did well. His various horrors did okay. Fury's more mixed value overall. The Screamers did great. And Flamers did okay, honestly, considering they're like 800 price point. Did all right, but I generally just think they're trash. I think they're trash units. For the Dark Elves, Lord did okay, considering she's a caster on a Manticore. That's honestly probably about paying for herself. Dark Shards did really good. Black Ark Corsairs, mixed. Overall, the front line honestly had a pretty mixed performance. Some good, some bad. Golden Knights, more mixed as well. And the Scourge Runners did very well. So, GG's, lads, GG's. It was a pretty exciting game, if somewhat short. Roar. Subscribe, yes, yes.